Hi, everyone. Welcome. Oh my gosh, I am so excited. This has been a long time coming. I get to interview the fabulous Molly Mahoney. Molly, welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited that I get to hang out with you because we went on the marketers cruise together and I swear we were ships passing in the night on the ship. We just kept like waving and so I'm excited to be able
Exactly.
to spend more time.
That's like half the reason I do this. So I get to hang
Yeah.
out with cool people. So,
So fun.
so we're going to talk about AI and magic and how AI can help amplify your magic, not to be afraid of it, some tips for getting started. But first, I would love if you could share, pre-AI. I know your story of launching the Prepared Performer and getting into this world. Can you just share a little bit with people, going from being a performer to
Yeah,
deciding to go into this world? There had to have been some sort of intuitive guidance as a
there
part of
was.
that journey. So could you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, and I have such a visceral memory of two coffee shops that had a lot to do with this. So, just really quick, I was a musical theater performer professionally. It's what I had done all my life. And when I moved, I was on the national tour of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, which is, really fun and really awesome with the flying car. It was very magical. And I decided while on that tour that I was going to leave New York and move out to California to get married with my bass playing husband and have kids and all of that. So when I moved out back out to California where I grew up, I was actually working 10 different jobs in 10 different locations, which I think is bananas when I look back on it. I'm like, how on earth did I do that? But it was everything from dance, singing, directing musical theater, and like at different locations, not just all in one place. Teaching knitting and crocheting at a yarn store. Like I had all these different things that I was doing.
Wow.
It was a lot. And when eventually I ended up finding Pat Flynn, and Pat Flynn, like I did everything that he said to do back in the day. So I launched this company as a vocal coaching business to be able to teach other performers to have a career like I had. So I was teaching singing lessons and career coaching on the back end. And I had this brilliant idea to launch a program called Prepared Performer Profits. Have I told you about this before?
No.
Oh, I had it all figured out. I recorded 6 modules. I did a beta round and then I recorded these 6 modules of this program and I went all out. I expected to have like a $30,000 launch. It was going to be such a big deal. And I had zero sales, like actually zero. Right. Which is the best thing ever. Because if I had had like 3 sales, that would have been so bad because I would have been stuck delivering this program that really wasn't a good fit. And I had decided that I was going to be and create the program that would be this is what I called the tagline on it was the cure for the starving artist syndrome, which I learned later that just because that's what I thought people needed, if I was calling them starving artists to begin with, they were not actually going to buy into this idea of like monetizing your creativity or whatever I thought I was going to teach them to do. And what I did is in that moment, I had like a full, okay, I got to get quiet, get somewhere else, and just really like download what do I want to do? Do I want to continue down this new path of trying to launch something new? Or do I want to go back and simply teach singing lessons? And is that where I'm at? But I knew to the intuition piece, there was something calling me to more. And I don't tell this part of the story very often, but I think it has to do with kind of the more spiritual piece of it. I found myself when I was teaching my singing lessons, I would like start multitasking during someone's voice lesson, which is horrible. So I would like have my notes pulled up where I was taking notes on what they were singing, and then I would like start doing other things, which is really bad. And so I was like, there is something that I am like not in my full zone. There was something pulling me to do more, you know? So I made a giant list of all the things that I knew that I could do and like that I loved to do and where I was connected. So I at one point almost launched like in this little weird transition place. I almost launched a business where I would go into recreation department teams for cities and teach them how to be more confident.
Okay.
Can you imagine?
Because you had connections there?
Exactly, because I was teaching dance and one of my students' moms worked for the La Habra Recreation Department and they had a team of teen volunteers and she had paid me to come in and teach the teens how to network basically. So I was speaking there and coaching them on how to have confidence. And so my dad has a tree trimming business which was connected to the cities and I was like, "Oh, well I could use my dad's connections to kind of duplicate this thing that I'm doing." So that was one of the weird things. But what ended up happening is Facebook Live had just come out. So this was 2016. And in the middle of this launch, I was actually in New York with a bunch of girlfriends from high school. We were seeing the original cast of Hamilton on Broadway. So it was like a big deal. I was in this really cute little coffee shop in Chelsea. And that's when I really realized this launch is going nowhere. And so I was in this amazing place in New York and like everything is falling apart. So in that moment, I had this idea that what if instead of teaching performers how to have a business, I teach business owners how to perform. And it was a really good idea. So Facebook Live had just come out. There had been a lot of people like Kim Garst and maybe even Murray Smith or a few others like Joel Comm teaching about Periscope. But I never really got into Periscope. And so it's kind of how I feel about TikTok. I'm like, I know it's there. I could do it, but it just like didn't, it wasn't my jam. But Facebook, I loved. And I love like my human design is my, I'm not all that up on it, but it's like to respond. What, do you know what that part is? What is that thing called?
Generator.
Yeah. So, yeah. So I like when things go wrong and I can figure it out, right? And so with new tools like Facebook Live, that's where I realized that was really my best place. I love learning out loud. And so Facebook Live being new gave me the opportunity to do that. And it's proven that over the years, that's been the actual thing that has worked really well for us. When Messenger bots came out, I just got really loud teaching everything that I was learning as quickly as I could. With AI, we launched our AI program in 2021. But I don't talk about all that much publicly, but I think it's a really good thing to recognize is like it was really finding that alignment between the way I love to operate. And I love operating in that quick start kind of stand there naked way.
Love this so much. So
Yeah.
a couple things speak to me. First of all, I did a launch. My first launch was way worse than yours because yours kind of makes logical sense. Mine was called Decide Then Thrive.
Okay.
It'd be a mastermind. And I basically had watched people send emails and then say, sold out, right? And so I did the math of like how much money they were making by sending emails and selling out these programs. And I thought, well, I'm going to do that. Of course, my coach at the time said, don't do that. And of course, I didn't listen, and I did it anyway. And I sold zero. And I also later learned that some of the people I was following who were saying sold out, really like they just didn't sell any and they were trying to
And they were just closing things down like, oh, all the spots are filled. I'm sure I did something like that with that program. Like, wow, there's no more spots left because there's no more spots at all.
So I, was basing it off of something that was an illusion anyway. So I totally did that. I really relate. And then tell me more about learning out loud because this seems exciting and it seems very different than I went and recorded 6 modules by myself that I thought people needed, which people are doing. So
and people, I get that and I did it too, but I get that there's some sort of comfort in knowing that, I mean, my company is called The Prepared Performer. So it feels like you need to prepare before you perform. But the real magic, like as a human who has a BFA in theater, I will tell you that we were taught something that drove me bonkers when I was in college, which is you do all of this like deep work with the text as an actor, right? You do this beat work and the intentions and all of this. And then they would tell you now before you perform, let it all go.
Yeah.
And that was always so annoying to me. But now I see that the deep work underneath actually informs every choice we make in the moment. So I can feel confident now going and stepping on a stage without knowing that I'm going to be there. I mean, it happened just recently. I was at an event, and when the speaker was done, the MC was just not there, like not in the room. And I could see the team from High Level was waiting to go on because they were next and they were speaking as a sponsor. And it was a room of several hundred people. And I like looked around and I in my learning out loud, I like ran up to the stage, grabbed a microphone, and I just took over as the MC. And that like live video has helped me with this. Getting on more stages has helped me with this. But that's kind of that skill set. If you can sharpen that skill set, the learning out loud piece is so great, because what we do now is we sell our programs before we actually create them. So I launched a whole thing called Sell It First, because when I made that change after our failed launch, the next thing that I launched was a program called Camera Confidence, which we launched back in 2016. And I launched it with an empty Facebook group. So the complete opposite of what I did on my failed launch, an empty Facebook group, a spreadsheet that I had mapped out 30 bite-sized trainings. And then I went live in the group for 30 days. I sold it for $47. It was a total test. And by the time I was done, I mean, it had gone really, really well. So the next month I sold it for 97 and I did it live again. The next month I sold it for 197. And then halfway through the month, I was like, why am I still doing this live? And so I started to repurpose the things that I had already delivered. And by the time when we finally closed that program down, we were selling it for $5,000.
Wow.
So cool.
Yes, I love this. So when I work with retreat leaders, similar idea, we talk about embodying your magic, right? So you're shifting any blocks or barriers that would be in the way to you, just fully trusting that you know what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
So similarly, you've got
That's like exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And I like, as we talk about it, I just found out, I'm not allowed to say until the 22nd of this month, but I just found out that I booked a really like important, amazing speaking opportunity that I could like cry. I'm so excited about. And I'm a little nervous about it because like as things get bigger and bigger, right? What I know that I can go into, there's many stages that I know I can step onto and be like, psh, I got this with my eyes closed. But as we grow, there's always that little bit of like, okay, this is my, what do they call it? It's not bleeding edge. What do they call that?
Leading edge?
Leading edge? Is that, I said bleeding edge, which is like very graphic.
That's a thing too, I'm sure.
Leading edge, right? And it's trusting your expertise, your experience, and getting there and allowing yourself to be messy. It's not always going to be perfect, but I think if you are showing up authentically and you're being honest and you're really tapping in, even if it's not perfect, people are going to be forgiving, as opposed to if you go in and try and pretend to be something you're not, people see through that.
Yeah. Molly, this is one of the things that I've noticed you do exceptionally. You're just yourself, and you talk about things that people may not think to talk about and really share. Like I watched your video this morning, the day we're recording this, about using Alex Hormozi's AI tool, which looked like learning out loud. Like, hey, here's what I'm doing.
Hey, that's like such a perfect example, actually. And we have this strategy called news hijacking. And so if there's something that's happening in the news that is new and you can simply try it and then give your take on it, it works so well. So with this crazy launch of Alex Hormozi, if you don't know, he sold 3 million. Did it end up crossing 3 million? Do you know?
I believe so.
Probably. So 3 million books, quote unquote, because some of them were actually, oh, now I have balloons.
We're celebrating for him.
If you are listening and not watching, balloons just flew across my screen because I did quotes, like air quotes, which looked like a peace sign, I guess. That's so funny. Yeah, so he, some of it was books that were donated, whatever, like people got codes for books. Anyway, this huge launch, and man, my personal Facebook profile has blown up just in the past 48 hours because of two things. One, I bought his offer. And then I really bought it so that I could give insight into it, what's happening, and I could talk about it. But the other thing is, and I don't know if you saw this post, but they sent a mass text message that said, like, hey, we're so glad you bought these 200 books. It was a $6,000 offer. We're so glad you bought these 200 books. We have something else, like another surprise to send you. And then I wrote back, and because it said, hey, it's Jacob. So I thought it was someone from their sales team. And I wrote back and said, is it a woman that's going to actually be speaking on the stage? Because aside from his wife, who's amazing, everything was so bro-y that I was like, it'd be really awesome if there was actually another female involved in this whole ordeal. And then they wrote back, can we send it here? I was like, this is not how you do follow-up. And I know it's at massive scale. Clearly it was an automation, but by even taking that and learning, hey, how could we do this a little differently, and posting about it because it was relevant, I had like 20,000, last I checked, it was 20,000 views just on that text-based post, which is wild.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And, such a great tie-in to your expertise, which is they could have really used an AI agent.
It could have been an AI agent so easily. Like, I don't understand. I'm actually shocked. And they were selling, the surprise that they had was a $3,000 a month, 6-month program. And I was like, I started to type back, this is a perfect case study of how to lose a $24,000 sale, but I didn't feel that snarky, so I deleted it.
But it looked great for your post. So.
It did. I left it in there for that. But I think, like, being brave enough to share what you're learning as things are changing, or even just staying on top of the latest trends in your space. It's really easy, obviously, if we're talking about AI, but everybody can talk about AI right now, no matter what your expertise is. It's changing so fast that it makes it really easy to be someone who's learning out loud.
So, I teach something called transforming out loud, which is a little different, which is, really sharing your stories before you think they're all buttoned up.
Yeah.
Obviously not when you're big ugly crying about it, but
right.
Not that far after. So that's something I'm skilled at. What I am not great at is even thinking to show my work. Like I hear the voice in my head, like, show your work, it just never occurs to me.
You know what that just reminded me of is like being in math class as a little kid.
Right?
We're told to show our work.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I don't like it. But I'm doing things all day long that I know people would find interesting, but it never occurs to me to post them.
Yeah.
So how did you embrace this? What tips would you have for me or someone like me? And did you ever have a moment where you truly felt naked? However you
Oh my God. Okay, wait. Let me talk about that one first. Yes. So during that time, way back in the day when I was recording all those videos live, I don't know what I was thinking, but I have learned sometimes I choose fashion over function, which is not a good idea, because I had this selfie stick that was really cute that had gold polka dots on it, but it couldn't be used in a way where my camera would be the right angle. So I was holding it on my shoulder. I don't have a selfie stick around here, but I was holding it on my shoulder with the camera at the end, and it fell while I was live and landed shooting directly at my skirt. Not okay. Luckily, I was a weirdo and I was getting ready to go to an eWomen event, and I had on this really cute pink or like black and white 50s skirt, and I was wearing crinoline under it, like a total freakazoid. But luckily it was just like all this like fluff and crinoline in the video. But I remember like screaming, looking down and just seeing myself shoot up from the floor. It was so bad. I was like crying with laughter. I never wanted to turn the live video off because I knew if I turned it off, then people would be able to rewind, right? So I think since that happened, I'm like, anything can happen and I'll be totally fine.
Like, how did you handle it?
Yeah, I mean, I laughed, and then actually I developed a system, which goes into what I was going to say. I developed a system that I now use all the time, and because I've practiced this system over and over again, it's gotten easier and easier. It's called the method. So take your hand like this, like up in the air, and go kind of like you're saying zip it, right? So, and it's FFTT. So the first thing is you face it and you're like, okay, this problem is happening. This, this disaster has happened. And then the step that I think a lot of people assume that I skip, but I don't, is the feel it. And that's kind of where you're in that transformation place, right? You're allowing yourself to sit in this. I work with this vocal duo, the brothers Corin. Do you know them by any chance?
Oh, I
Thorold
don't.
and Isaac Corin. I'm obsessed with them. They would be really cool, like in your space. They have a program called Your Big Voice, but they have a thing about sitting in the suck, that when you're writing a song, you have to like be in that kind of messy thing and just share it, even though you feel completely not safe. Right?
Yes.
Right? So sitting in the suck. So that's the feel it. Then the magic is on its way, because the next thing you do is you twist it. And so this is where you say, how can I make this a positive? How can I make this a positive? How can I make this a positive? And so I've gotten now, before we get to the final step, my muscle of switching things into a positive has become so strong because I've really like used this system. And then the final T is the real magic. And that's where you think it. So that's where you're like, oh, I'm so grateful that this happened. Like the launch for, the disastrous launch for both of us, we learned so much that now we can take into the future. And so it's recognizing, I mean, the past few years were really difficult personally for me, from my mom passing away. I fell and my arm was in a cast for 9 months straight, which was insane. And now that's like caused shoulder pain and all of this, But as I was navigating all of that, being able to share it from a place that's not self-deprecating or like ugly crying, but finding the lessons in it has been super helpful.
Has it helped just personally, or has it also helped your business?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it's helped personally, probably more than anything, just knowing that it's, if you go back and look at my videos from 2016, I'm definitely like a psycho. So
Okay.
over the top and like, I'm doing a video, right? But as life has weathered me over the years, I think knowing that I have a community online and I have a place where I can go and be honest, and I'm not always, sometimes even more so with my client groups, just to be like, okay, guys, here's what's actually going on. It's helped me to know that I'm safe, even when things feel like maybe I'm not.
Yeah.
And then that has an adverse effect also on our sales, because I hear a lot that people feel like they can trust me where they can't trust a lot of people out there. So, which I'm super grateful for. And I really try to keep it in check as often as possible.
A word, I'm thinking about how, I guess the word that's present is prolific, which is a word that I keep thinking for myself, this balance between simplicity of like just sharing, one thing or being about one thing. And then the idea of, I witness you creating so much content and,
Yeah.
like,
And you know what's really, I think, and this kind of brings the AI piece into it as well. The more you can get in the habit of finding that everything is a lesson, like there's the metaphor. And I have a system that we use that's called Stories That Convert. And really, I shout out my friend Chad with this because he goes by the story catcher. But it's like, how can you be a story catcher and start to think like a speaker, or think like a teacher, or think like a creator, that everything that's happening, there's a metaphor and a story. And what's really cool is once you build this library of stories, especially once you've shared them, this library of content, you can then repurpose it. So I went live every week for 5 years religiously. And then when my mom got sick, I pulled back on it, but I had so much content that I had already created. And I've documented every post that I've done on my personal Facebook profile since 2018. So even this morning, I went back to the post and to that spreadsheet, and it's all organized by likes and comments, which you cannot do with a tool because there's no API access, right? So it's like we have a team member now who goes in and every week grabs those posts. And then it's great because I can learn from myself. And so a lot of the time I'm not actually fully creating new content. I'm reusing content.
Yes.
And now with AI, luckily is the light like crazy in here? I feel like there's like a weird light happening on my face, but that's okay. It's not. I don't know what's
No,
happening.
I
Okay.
don't see it.
Maybe it's that I'm using my teleprompter and now it's like warping me. Okay. So the with AI now it's so easy for me to use AI to create content that really is authentically from me because I have content that I've created since 2018 that I've put into my AI tools.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into AI. So first of all, I hired a social media VA recently, and
Mm-hmm.
then I was like, "Hey, have you heard of Molly Mahoney?" And she said, "I'm in the program," and I was like,
Oh,
"Oh, thank goodness!" So
amazing.
I still don't do it myself, but I have learned a little bit. But I get so much great feedback, and she's
Aw,
using your tools.
so good.
So, and taking my words and then,
Yeah.
using the tools. And I
Yeah,
do
I love it.
my company details document. So let's dive in with, if we think about people who are used to trusting their intuition, trusting their magic, maybe they channel messages,
Yeah.
they're maybe a little bit attached to that
Yeah.
process, concerned about bringing in AI. First of all, what would you say to that person? And then I'm just kind of curious your deep thoughts about AI and energy, consciousness, intention.
Yeah. Yeah. So to the first part, I actually, when my arm was in a cast for so long, I am shocked at how disconnected from myself I felt because I've realized that I think through my fingertips. And as someone who was really uncomfortable with writing, I'm dyslexic. There's like a lot, and I'm like a professional speaker, all of that. When I really have, and I get goosebumps just thinking about it, when I really have my most connected, deepest, you know, aligned moments, it's when I'm typing a post without AI straight from my own heart. And so for those people who are really channeling those types of messages, I would say don't stop doing that, right? Allow that to happen and use AI on the front end and the back end to really make sure that you are not missing out on huge opportunities for how you can connect with your ideal client. Because as you know, we have a process where we create this company details document that is seasoned with all of your business and your personal magic. Then the process that we use for almost everything we do, we start with these buying beliefs that help us to identify what do people need to believe in order to buy from me or in order to sign up for this retreat or in order to, whatever it is. And you can use this on your kids. You can use this with your partner, right? It works with a bunch of different things. So sometimes I'll just use that buying belief exercise that now AI can do for us. And I'll use that as the jumping off point to help trigger the thing. Or if I have a message that I've channeled, I'll combine that with the buying beliefs to make sure that it's actually being strategic without being some sort of totally robotic, creepy, salesy Lambo Larry type thing, right?
So is this like, so I know the buying beliefs. So it's a GPT that people can put their company details in and it will spit this out
Yeah.
about your client and you're going to give them a gift about their client, right?
Yeah.
And then you would put in what your channeled message and just say, hey, make sure it hits one
Yeah.
to
Or
three
yeah,
times.
even more than saying make sure it hits this, I would say where are the opportunities that I may be missing based on these buying beliefs? Or what buying beliefs and am I instilling with this post? And so then it kind of helps to dissect what you've done so that you can go in and make the choice as a human to make the adjustments. And even when I do use AI to say like, hey, adjust this copy to make it clearer or something. I go back and I say, okay, what did you adjust? Because I want to make sure that I'm seeing the changes that it's making and not just a blanket. If you don't do that, you may lose some of the je ne sais quoi or the essence of it, right? And then the other thing is when we create these buying beliefs, so just a few of them, we start with our ideal client first. And as you know, our ideal client breakdown is not your average ideal client breakdown. So we focus not only on pain points, but we focus on the tickle points. We focus on, all these different pieces. And so we have this huge list of everything that goes into your avatar. So we take that avatar, we combine it with the beliefs, which are just a few of them. Why me? Like, why does it matter to them as a human being? Which sometimes has nothing to do with what you're offering. And that could be the thing that leads them to trust you to move to the next step. So why me? Why this? Which a lot of people also don't think about because they get stuck in this echo chamber where they think that their solution is the only solution, but nobody else knows that besides them. So
our failed launches.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah. That's exactly what happened. Right. Like I thought, well, obviously I think this is good. So everyone else is going to think so also. I had the wrong buying beliefs that I was instilling. Right. So why this, then why you, the expert, which again, that's another one a lot of people feel uncomfortable about because it feels like they're bragging or something like that. But there are things that, or it feels like no big deal. Right. One of my clients who's an AI consultant told me today, she was like, I'm going to this event and I have nothing to wear because I've lost so much weight. And I was like, oh, it's, must be nice or whatever. I like made a joke about it. And she said, no, I used to weigh 300 pounds. And so a lot of people don't even recognize me. And I said, you should talk about that in your content, even though it has nothing to do with AI consulting. It's everything to do with her transformation and her stick-to-itiveness, and there's so many metaphors in that.
Well, I think of your sparkly pants. Like, I don't know why I know this about you, that you love sparkly pants, but these are things you post about.
Totally. And when I speak, and this like goes to the concept of personal brand, which I think is becoming or has become way more important than ever, because as more and more people start to use AI, if we don't double down on what makes us unique, there is no differentiator. So I have this book that I was featured in that Jay Abraham and Rich Schefrin wrote. And I show it when I speak because it's like Russell Brunson was a chapter in it. Alaric Heck was a chapter in it. And I always say, there's like a cool dude, Russell Brunson, all these amazing bros. And then Sparkle Pants Mahoney. And so I say Sparkle Pants Mahoney on purpose to reiterate that like piece of my personal brand.
Yeah, because it resonates for someone who wants to be taken seriously and wear sparkly pants.
Exactly. Totally. And their version of sparkle pants may not be actual sparkly pants. It may be that they want to wear lace or something.
Right. I had pink hair all through COVID.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk a little about your take. I've seen some random posts about consciousness and AI.
Yeah.
And I'm just sort of curious, and I'll give it in the form of an example for you to respond to.
Okay.
So I went on a retreat to Colombia with Ron Reich.
I was just going to say, was it with Ron Reich?
Yeah.
Amazing.
So I'm there, and another friend who was there introduced me to a GPT on Jyotish astrology, right? So like the Vedic astrology.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, here's all the things I've done with it. You can find out your top 5 most resonant or energetically aligned places in the globe and all of these fun things, right? So I start and I put my info in, and I am like transfixed, like I'm in a deep relationship with this GPT. And I'm telling you, there were things that resonated that just felt like magic. And then like the next day I went back in and it started saying things and I was like, I don't know about that. And I kind of like lost it. And then again, another time I went in with the intention of like, oh, I'm really curious about this thing. And like the insights were so profound. Tell me your thoughts about that. Because there was a moment where it was like, okay, stop this conversation, go back into life.
It
felt like really like it was speaking deep into my soul.
I can't talk. Rich Schefrin, Rich was too hard to say. Rich Schefrin has a program called Zenith Mind. Have you heard of this?
No.
Okay. I am obsessed with it. And he took like 20 years of journals and I was going to say screenshotted, but he took a photo of every single page, loaded them into ChatGPT because he's like a really deep, crazy journaler, and then basically had it like psychoanalyze him and find what is stopping him from other levels of success. So he took that and he is a, OG internet marketer, but he also used to have hypnosis facilities. And so he took all of these different, like human design and Enneagram and, personality tests, things like that, and created this giant series of questions that you load into AI, and then you ask it to guide you through it. And as you're answering these questions, it then reflects back to you and says like, okay, so is this how you're feeling, whatever. And then after like every 20 questions, it spits out this giant report of where it sees your holes and where it sees your, whatever. And so I have had a similar experience with something like that, where it's like all I wanted to do was get back to the AI and keep learning about myself, right? Now, where I've seen this go off the rails is I saw one personal story and one story that I read in a paper or something, an article, that there is a psychologist who has now had 12 people that he has diagnosed with something, I think it's called AI psychosis. I can find the actual article that I read about it because I'm horribly misquoting it, I'm sure. But basically, it's this idea that if we aren't careful, we can get ourselves into a loop with this thing that is not actually thinking. It's just a pattern. It's putting together letters in a pattern that it recognizes, right? So whatever energy we are bringing to it. And I believe, like, we have a whole exercise about getting into your own quesadilla of awesome, right? Like tapping into your unique, weird self. If you are bringing that energy into the AI tool that you're talking to, it's kind of, have you seen Severance?
Yes.
Okay. It's like, in Severance, how the numbers have energy. Mm-hmm. That is what's happening with the words. I really feel that you could type the same exact words and just like little nuances in the way that you're processing it is going to, and the way that you're energetically putting it in is going to change the responses. So I think there is a danger where we need to check ourselves before we wreck ourselves. I also have a friend who told me that she started writing a book about her life and was talking about it with AI, and it convinced her that she needed to leave her husband. And I was like, no, I think maybe it was a good idea for her to shift this relationship, but the wholehearted, deep conviction, because AI was confirming this for her, made me a little concerned.
Yeah.
And I think we have a social responsibility to use these tools, where obviously there is a lot to think about from energy and water. And I was reading into it more recently and I was like, oh gosh, because the story is that the water that they're using to cool these energy plants down just evaporates instantly. It's not like water's going through this and being recycled on the other side. So there are environmental.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's something to look into. Or maybe just close your eyes because it's too much to actually face. But but I did hear from Nas Daily. He talked about how much water it takes to create a video with humans. He was like, if you think about all of the people who drive their cars to get on location and bring all these different things, it's probably about the same. So I don't know. But I think that we have a responsibility to be feeding positive light into these tools, because if you watch the launch of GPT-5, it is very clear that they are robots, the people who are building these tools. And so I think the more, wholeheartedly conscious humans who are using these tools, the more we'll avoid the zombie apocalypse in the future.
It's sort of like the more money in the hands of people who are making decisions from higher consciousness.
Yes.
Changes the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Times a million.
So that's good motive for people that follow me to get on AI. So I love
Well, yeah,
it.
because if you don't have a seat at the table, this is something I'm
Right.
so big about. If you don't have a
Right.
seat at the table, how is change going to be made? How are you going to keep things safe? And oftentimes, I talked to my sister about this yesterday. I think that because of my somewhat fearlessness and my ability to learn out loud, I like to go into rooms where I disagree with people and not to come in and like tell people off, but to go in and listen and to be that not conduit is the word I'm thinking of, but that's not what I mean. I mean like that translator for people who would either be too afraid to be in that room or too angry to be in that room. I think we need to start coming together more than growing apart. And the only way we can really do that is if we're brave enough to listen and seek to understand.
That's so good. I've often hired translator people to, so I don't have to go in the room. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that. So Molly, when you think about, a lot of your clients are women,
Hmm.
a lot of coaches,
Yeah.
they're doing transformational work. If someone is, let's say, hosting transformational retreats and
Yeah.
they are getting someone ready for their retreat, for example, whether it is before they buy or after they buy, like what are some ways they should think about AI to
Yeah.
supplement, whether it's their marketing, their sales conversations?
Yeah. So on the marketing and sales side, I would first tap into those buying beliefs, right? And that can be used on your sales pages. It can be used in your social media content, in your emails, in your, messaging that you're sending out. So I would just do some deep research with AI and then use AI to help, but be careful about watching out for like the really dead giveaways for AI. Like this retreat is not only a business retreat, it's a retreat for your soul or whatever. Like that kind of copy I just see everywhere. So watch out for that. But use it in like the deeper, juicy stuff. Then when it comes to the actual conversions, there's a couple things that you can do. So as we were talking about earlier, we have AI assistants that can actually have really empowered sales conversations with your client, your potential clients through a widget on your website, which is actually so easy to do. Building a chat bot that sits on top of your website and it has all the instructions. We actually, I don't know if you've seen it, but we have a GPT that will write the code for that so easily. And then it can have conversations for you. Then you can even, I don't actually do this for my own business, but you can even create phone AI assistants that can talk to people. I've built it for some clients. I haven't actually done it for myself, but it's cool. Maybe I'll do one by the end of the month just for fun. But okay, so that's cool. Then where I think like the best opportunity is, and this can happen before, but I really think it's best for right after someone buys, is if you create some sort of onboarding interactive online experience. And so this is similar to where like what a quiz used to be, but it's actually a an app that you can build. We use Base 44 for this. You could do it. That's an AI tool that you just do what vibe coding is. So if people don't know what vibe coding is, it's like you have to move your head like that when you say.
If you have a affiliate link, feel free to say it.
Oh yeah, yeah. If you so go to molly.live/base 44 BASE 44 number. It actually all you do is say, "Hey, I'm hosting a retreat and we will be, here's the sales page for my retreat. Here are some of the worksheets that we'll be, going over at the retreat. Here's our itinerary, whatever. Give it all the information and then say, I'd like to create an onboarding experience for them that asks questions and then gets them to be fully prepared."
Yes.
And what's really cool is if you do a tool like this for a retreat or for a program, we have in our programs, we want everyone to start with the Start Here course. And I don't care how many times I say that, people come to me and they're like, oh my gosh, there's so much here. Darla is raising her hand. Where do I start? And I mean, in the portal, it is like, start here, right? It's like a flashing neon light. But when we give people this tool and it's like, I'm going to create your personalized experience, every single person is given start here as the first step. And then it varies from there. Right. Yeah. But it feels like, oh, this was created just for me. It's really powerful.
Okay, so question since I have you, because I watched you build
Yeah.
onboarding with Base 44,
Yeah.
and then there was also MindPal. Like, can you
How are they different?
go together?
Yeah. So MindPal, and the way we have like 3 different levels that we explain. So the first, which some people may be familiar with, is a custom GPT. Now, I've been shocked at events. I've started really saying like, okay, guys, we're all going to be honest right now. And I need you to leave your hand up when I ask you to raise your hand. How many of you have never created a custom GPT? And it's usually, oh my gosh, Darla, we're fixing that. It's usually like half the room. And even in these really like high level business things. And I think people now are in a place where they feel scared or embarrassed and they don't want to do it because they see so many people are going at lightning speed. So first, just create a simple custom GPT. It's a tool that lives inside of ChatGPT. You can use it internally. You can give it as a lead magnet. You can use it for your clients. The reason, or a question about that?
I already know how I'm using it.
Okay, amazing. And the best thing about it is that it takes whatever expertise or processes you have, you can systematize. And when you systematize these things, just like that method, it gives you freedom to be able to trust and to be able to be goofy in your own unique self because you have a system. It's like in the movie Temple Grandin. Have you seen that movie?
No.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. It's Claire Danes, and it's about a real woman who changed this is horrible, but who changed the beef processing to like around the world because of the way that she helped the cows to feel more calm. And the way that she did that was taking her own, it's a true story, her own autism, where she needed like guardrails up to help her to feel safe. And that is how I feel in life every day. That when I give myself like rest and reason, move and passion, when I give myself those frameworks, it's really helpful. So custom GPTs. Then the next level up from that would be MindPal. So MindPal is my most favorite AI tool because you can take multiple AI assistants, so like multiple GPTs, and stack them on top of each other. So when we do our whole content system, you put in your website or you answer a few questions, it automatically summons my ideal client GPT, which I'm going to give you in a little bit. It summons that one. It answers that question. Then it takes that answer, hands it to the Tree of Beliefs GPT, which does the whole Tree of Beliefs, which then takes that answer, gives it to our super prompt content generator, which then takes that answer and gives it to a blog post writer. So you can stack all of these things together. So like we have a tool called the Dream Activator where people put have you played with it?
No.
Okay. It's molly.live/dream activator. It is so awesome. You just answer a few questions and then it will spit out this beautiful written version of your dream. But the thing that's really powerful about it is that I built it behind this wall. That's a website. And then all the answers and all of that, I get on the back end. So with ChatGPT, you don't get any of that. But now I have hundreds of people's dreams. So when I am wanting to create content, I can base it off of what I know my clients, like their deepest desire is. It's cool.
Mind blowing.
Yeah. MindPal, mind blown. Yeah. And then Base 44 is totally different actually, because Base 44 will create a brand new website that's interactive, where MindPal is just, it can connect to other tools. So like with the Dream Activator, it doesn't do this, but it could at the end send a email, or, it can connect to other tools.
Okay. So like Base 44, is that replacing systems like Circle or does it work or like, I mean, I know you have a go high level.
Yeah, so it's replacing, like, so first of all, Wix just bought the tool for $88 million.
Okay.
There were 2 founders and I think maybe a team of 5, which is amazing. And so if you're stuck on, if web design feels like scary and whatever to you, you could design full websites with it. It doesn't, I don't use it for community apps. I'm still using like Circle or Facebook groups or whatever. But what it does do, like we have a task tracking app in there. And so our Multiply members, Multiply is like our highest level coaching program. They have activities they're supposed to do every day to generate revenue. And I can see who is logging in and who isn't. Right? So there's all kinds of things that you can do with it.
Amazing. Okay, so obviously that we're just scratching the surface and people need to get in. I'm an AI stars. Do you want to say anything about how people, should hop into your world? I know
Yeah.
it's an ideal client generator.
Yeah, so we just thought it would be super fun for those of you who are either already experienced or those of you who are really just starting to dip your toes in the water. We have an amazing ideal client generator. It is right in ChatGPT. You can use it with a free account, with a paid account, whatever kind of ChatGPT account you have. And so if you go to molly.live/Darla, then it will actually give you the ideal client generator. And so you can start to play and see how it works. You can do this thing called GPT stacking where you actually use it mixed with other GPTs if you're more of a wizard. And it's a great way to get started and to see kind of the magic that we have happening here.
Nice. And I'm guessing if I know you at the end, it's going to say, hey, if you want to use this to get your buying beliefs, go here or something.
Yeah. So what it does, and this is like a sneaky thing that people don't realize you can do with these, is when you're using it at the bottom, like when it's giving you responses, it will say, hey, we're so glad you used this tool. If you want more from Molly, go here. And it'll tell you about the Content Club, which is our entry level membership where we meet once a month to create content together. And then AI Stars is the step above that where we create all kinds of wild AI magic and then multiply from there. So it's pretty fun.
Awesome. And just being in a couple of your classes, I know you speak to people at all the levels and it's a space of non-judgment. People can be however magical they are and still use these tools.
1,000,000%. I really feel like I am bridging like the magic of the past with the magic of the future. So I'm like here to bring us all together. It's going to be,
I love it because they're
awesome.
probably more connected than
Oh, yes. So true. Yeah, I love it. And we can connect on like Instagram and stuff like that too. So I'm the Prepared Performer or Molly Mahoney on all the places.
Amazing. Yeah. Thanks so much for saying yes to this. I know we're going to get a lot of traction, a lot of magical people embracing the tools, and just thanks for who you are in the world. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much. I appreciate you too. Bye.
See you in the next episode, everyone. Bye. All right. I hope that's okay. We went a little over.
Yeah, no, we are good, right? I got 2 minutes.